A single economic model from Deloitte predicts that this unfolding oil crisis could cost nearly 1 million Australians their jobs. And yet, all we get from the headlines is noise. One day there's a ceasefire, the next there isn't. The Strait of Hormuz is open, then it's slammed shut again. Oil prices dip, and then spike past $150 a barrel. So let's get real. What does all this chaos actually mean for your wallet and for your family's security? My job here is to give you clarity. We're going to cut through the spin, look at the actual numbers behind this long-term threat, and then build a clear plan to navigate it. So how could a situation this severe even happen? Especially when the government tells us they have deals in place to protect us. That is the first and most dangerous illusion we need to shatter. That promise from the government? Let's be brutally honest. It's an assurance, not a guarantee. And in the real world of money and oil, there's a world of difference between those two words. An assurance is a handshake. A guarantee is a legally binding contract. We don't have a contract. Here's how it actually works. The global fuel market is a ruthless real-time auction. I want you to picture this. An oil tanker is sailing towards Australia, full of the petrol we need. But if someone from another country calls the captain's satellite phone and offers a higher price, that boat can, and literally will, turn around mid-ocean. Think about what that means for you and your family. It means the fuel you were counting on simply vanishes. The highest bidder always wins, and diplomatic assurances don't pay the bills. This is where our biggest vulnerability lies. We're told our deal with Singapore is our safety net. The numbers tell a different story. According to The Guardian, a staggering 55% of Australia's unleaded petrol comes from that one single hub. But here's the kicker. Singapore doesn't have its own oil. It's just as reliant on the same volatile global supply chains as we are. And don't expect our other neighbours to help. ABC News is already reporting that China has banned fuel exports to protect itself. South Korea has entered emergency mode for its own industries. When a true crisis hits, it is every country for itself. So why do things feel relatively normal right now at the pump? This is the most dangerous part. The current stability is a false illusion. It simply means we are still burning through the supply that was already on the water or sitting in our refineries before the real crisis began. That supply is running out. So our safety net is an illusion. The fuel we think is coming can be sold to someone else at any moment. And the supply we have now is dwindling. The logical next question is, how bad does it get when that illusion shatters? What does this actually mean for the economy, for businesses, and for Australian jobs? In the next section, we are going to stop guessing. We will look at the gut-wrenching numbers from both Deloitte's economic modelling and the Treasury's internal briefings that quantify the shock. This is the data they don't want you to see. Let's get straight to it. A sustained high oil price isn't just a headache at the petrol station. It acts like a massive new tax across the entire Australian economy, forcing businesses to cut costs. And the first cost they always cut is staff. Deloitte's economic modelling lays out two clear paths. At $150 a barrel, their model forecasts Australian inflation hitting 6.6%. And more critically, over 950,000 Australians could be out of work. But watch what happens if the price only nudges up to $175 a barrel. That small jump doesn't create a small problem. It creates a catastrophic one. Unemployment blows past the 1 million mark, hitting 6.8% of the workforce. Inflation surges to 7.5%. And what does 7.5% inflation actually feel like? For an average family, that's hundreds of extra dollars a month on your mortgage, your groceries, your fuel. Yeah, just vanishing into thin air. Alright, pause here. 1 million people. I know those are gut punch numbers, but do not look away. Because the next piece of data from the Australian Treasury is the one that connects this global chaos directly to the interest rate on your pay. Like mortgage. If you miss this connection, you're flying blind for the next 2 years. The Treasury's own analysis confirms the pain. They found that even if oil only moves to $120 a barrel, a much softer scenario, the economic damage, the drag on our growth, lasts all the way until 2029. And this isn't some distant fantasy. AMP has already warned that oil could spike above $150 a barrel if the Strait of Hormuz isn't reopened in the coming weeks. Let's be brutally clear about what 1 million unemployed means for you. It's not just a statistic. It means for every professional job advertised, the number of applicants doubles, then triples. It means intense downward pressure on wages. It means the job security that many white-collar professionals have taken for granted is suddenly gone. This isn't a problem for someone else, it's a direct threat to your household income. Now, the easy assumption, the thing the nightly news wants you to believe, is that a simple ceasefire or some political deal will make all of this just go away. That once the headlines change, the pressure comes off. That is a dangerous fantasy. The numbers we've just seen aren't about a temporary event. They reveal a deep structural fragility in our economy that has now been exposed. The real question isn't if a political solution arrives, but how we survive the long economic winter that comes after. Because fixing a broken global supply chain is a multi-year problem, not a multi-week one. Let's get real about what that long economic winter actually means. The structural damage to the global energy system has already been done. A ceasefire is like taking the cast off a broken leg. The immediate crisis feels over, but the bone still needs to heal, and the physical therapy takes months. Our global energy system is now in that physical therapy stage, and it will be long and expensive. First, there's the physical damage to infrastructure. You can't just rebuild pipelines and port facilities overnight. Second, even with repaired infrastructure, insurance and shipping costs have been permanently repriced upwards. They won't return to pre-crisis levels. And finally, the market itself has changed. There is now a permanent risk premium. Think of it as a fear tax, baked into every single barrel of oil. This isn't just my view. The big global players, the International Monetary Fund, and the energy analysts at Wood Mackenzie are all saying the same thing. They've run the numbers. Wood Mackenzie estimates that even after a ceasefire, it would take weeks at a minimum to restore the flow of 11 million barrels a day. The IMF is blunter, stating that because of these bottlenecks and embedded risks, a full recovery will take years, not months. So, a long, expensive recovery. Higher costs baked into everything you buy for years to come. It sounds relentlessly grim. But here's the paradox. The single biggest twist in this entire story, all of this pain, this global chaos, it's creating a massive, multi-billion-dollar silver lining. And that silver lining is landing right here in Australia. The same force driving up your petrol prices is about to trigger one of the biggest wealth transfers we've seen in a decade. The only question is, are you positioned to benefit, or will you just be left paying the bill? So how does this work? How can so much global pain become Australia's gain? It's a brutal but simple equation. While you pay more at the pump, Australia is one of the world's biggest exporters of liquefied natural gas and coal. When the global price for energy skyrockets, our national budget gets a massive unexpected pay rise. Let's get real about the numbers. This isn't speculation. Analysis from Westpac, reported by Sky News, forecasts a tax revenue windfall for the government of around $30 billion. That's enough cash to potentially halve the projected budget deficit for the next financial year. It's a fire hose of money flowing directly into the Treasury because of this crisis. We saw the same thing happen during COVID when soaring commodity prices delivered an unexpected surplus. This creates a clear political choice for the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, in the upcoming May budget. Path 1. Use the windfall for budget repair, a sensible but distant goal. Path 2. Channel that money back to families through direct cost of living relief. That's the government's choice, but you do not have to wait on them. Relying on a politician's promise is not a wealth strategy. It's time to build your own. So now we move from diagnosis to action. I'm going to give you the step-by-step framework I call the Zigzag Wealth Plan. It's designed to first defend your household from these shocks and then, crucially, position you to benefit from the opportunities that always emerge from major economic shifts. Let's get started. Alright, let's break it down. The Zigzag Wealth Plan has two distinct phases. The first is all about defense. Phase 1, defense. For the next 12 to 18 months, your absolute priority is resilience. This is about making your household budget bulletproof. It means making some tough, strategic calls. Putting that big overseas holiday on ice for a bit. Holding off on the kitchen Reno you've been dreaming about. This is about building your financial buffers, strengthening your position, and preparing for what comes next. Because you're not just playing defense, you must also be prepared to play some offense because every crisis creates opportunity. This leads us to phase 2. Phase 2, offense. Here's the critical part you need to understand. The economic pain that you and millions of other Australians are feeling right now. It forces the government's hand. And it forces the Reserve Bank's hand. Interest rates don't stay stable for very long. They're either going way up or they're coming way down. It's a zigzag pattern, and this pattern controls the property market. When the pressure gets too much, they will be forced to stimulate the economy by cutting rates. When that happens, borrowing gets cheaper. And cheaper borrowing pushes up asset prices. Your goal is to be ready with a plan and capital when that zigzag pattern inevitably turns upwards. This transforms you from a victim of the headlines into a strategist who understands the game. The economic pressure today directly creates the investment opportunities of tomorrow. You are navigating a predictable cycle. Now you have the zigzag wealth plan. For your family, what feels more urgent right now, strengthening your defense or preparing your offense? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to stay ahead of these cycles and protect your family's wealth, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an update.